The stars at the edge of human space were cold and silent. Only one small outpost drifted there, Observation Station Epsilon 9. It was a lonely place, forgotten by most of the galaxy. Captain Arya Trent stood by the wide glass window, watching the endless void. She had served the fleet for 15 years, but nothing ever happened out here. "Until tonight, Captain," a voice called from the comms desk. "We're picking up a signal." Arya turned, confused. "From where?" The young operator, Lieutenant Hale, frowned at his console. "I don't know. It's not human, but it's in English." That made no sense. No alien civilization ever used human language before? Arya walked to the console and listened. The voice that came through was soft and broken, full of static and fear. "Humanity help us before they return." Then silence. Hale looked at her with wide eyes. "Captain, that was definitely not one of ours." Arya felt a chill run down her spine. "Record it. Trace its source." For 10 long minutes, the station's computers calculated the origin. Finally, Hale whispered, "Signals coming from the Corvus system. That's outside our patrol range, Corvus." That name was only seen in old exploration maps. A dead sector full of wrecked ships and drifting asteroids. No one had gone there in 100 years, Arya thought for a long moment. Then she said, "Prepare the Starlants. We're going to see who's calling for help." The small exploration cruiser Starlants left Epsilon 9 and jumped into hyperspace. It was a quiet journey. The stars stretched into white lines, and the ship hummed softly. Arya stood on the bridge, her mind racing. Who could send a human message from alien space? And why did the voice sound so afraid? After 6 hours, they arrived in the Corvus system. When they dropped out of hyperspace, everyone on the bridge gasped. Before them floated a graveyard of ships, hundreds of alien vessels, shattered and drifting in silence. Their hulls were torn apart, as if eaten by something. Energy readings were almost zero. No life signs. No movement. Only one thing was still active, a faint repeating SOS. "Humanity help us," Hale swallowed. "Captain, this whole fleet is dead." Arya nodded slowly. "Move in closer. Scan for survivors." The ship drifted through the wreckage, weaving between broken hulls and burning fragments. The silence outside felt heavy, like a grave. Arya's second officer, Dr. Leona Mers, studied the readings. "Captain, these ships aren't from any race in our records." "Whoever they were, they fought hard." "Against what?" Arya asked quietly. Leona hesitated. "I don't know. But look at this." She zoomed the display. On the hulls of several destroyed ships were the same deep claw marks, massive gouges burned at the edges. Something had torn through armored metal like paper. Arya felt her heart beat faster. This wasn't a battle. It was slaughter. The Starlants stopped near the largest wreck. A battle cruiser split in half. They extended a scanner drone into the ship. "Still no life signs," Hale reported. "But the SOS is strongest here." The drone floated through dark, twisted corridors. Bodies floated, alien, blue-skinned, wearing torn armor. Their faces were frozen in terror. The drone's light flickered, then caught something moving in the distance. "Wait," Arya said. "Go back." The image refocused. A shadow moved between the walls, fast, vanishing out of sight. "Is that—" Hale started. "Freeze the feed," Arya ordered. "Zoom in." There was nothing, only darkness. "Probably debris," Leona said quietly, but her voice trembled. The signal grew louder. The broken voice returned. "Humanity help us before they return." Then, suddenly, the message changed. The voice became clear, too clear. "Captain Arya Trent, help us." Everyone froze. Arya's blood ran cold. What did it just say? The computer confirmed. The message now carried her name. "But that's impossible," Hale whispered. "No one here knows us." The voice repeated again, almost pleading. "Captain Arya Trent, help us before they return." The ship's lights flickered. An alarm began to beep softly. "Captain," Leona said, "I'm detecting a power surge from inside the wreck. Something's waking up. Back us away," Arya ordered quickly. The Starlants reversed thrusters, but the drone feed showed movement. Multiple energy signatures coming alive inside the dead ship. "They're not human," Hale said. "And they're not the same life signs as the dead crew." On the screen, the drone turned its camera toward the corridor. Something crawled out of the darkness, long, spined, and glowing with red energy. Its body was part metal, part flesh, and behind it, dozens more were waking up. The drone's feed cut out with a scream of static. "Get us out of here!" Arya shouted. The Starlance roared to full power and pulled away from the wreck. Outside, they saw glowing red shapes spreading through the graveyard of ships one by one. The alien vessels, once dead, were now lighting up again, corrupted by something unnatural. Hale's voice shook. "Captain, whatever those things are, they just took control of the entire fleet." Arya stared at the dark horizon. The SOS continued to echo faintly through the comms. "Humanity, help us." Then for the first time, the message added a new word. "They're coming." That night the stars of the Corvus system began to fade, one by one, as something vast moved through the dark. Arya's heart pounded. She turned to her crew. "Send everything to Earth Command," she said. "Tell them the dead are waking up," and as her ship jumped back into hyperspace behind them, the alien graveyard burned with red fire. As if the universe itself had opened its eyes again. The Starlance sped through hyperspace, the stars stretching into lines of white fire. Inside the ship, the crew sat in silence. No one spoke. No one even breathed loudly. Captain Arya Trent stood at the main viewport, watching the stars blur. The image of the glowing red creatures still burned in her mind, crawling over the dead alien ships, infecting them like a plague. "What did we just see?" whispered Lieutenant Hale from his station. Arya didn't answer. She didn't know. The ship AI broke the silence. "Captain, incoming transmission from Earth Command." Arya straightened. "Put it through." The hologram of Admiral Corrin appeared, his face pale and tense. "Captain Trent, we received your report." "Repeat. You found what in the Corvus system?" Arya explained quickly. The alien distress call, the graveyard of ships, the red glowing life forms. When she finished, the Admiral was silent for several seconds. Then he said quietly, "That system is officially dead space. You should not have gone there." "With respect, sir," Arya said, "they called for help." In English, the Admiral looked away. "Return to Epsilon 9 immediately. You are to quarantine your ship and crew." "No one leaves, no one enters," Arya frowned. "Quarantine." "Sir, but the signal cut off. The hologram vanished. The bridge was silent again. Hours later, they dropped out of hyperspace near Epsilon 9. The outpost hung against the black sky, small and quiet as always. But something was wrong. "Captain," Hale said softly, "I can't raise them. No signal, no beacon. It's like the whole station is offline." Arya's stomach tightened. "Magnify visual." On the screen, Epsilon 9 drifted in darkness. Several outer panels were burned. No lights, no movement. "The station was dead," Arya whispered. "They were fine when we left." Dr. Leona Mers spoke up from the sensor console. "Captain, I'm detecting faint life signs. One, maybe two. Very weak." Arya nodded quickly. "Prep a shuttle." "We're going down!" The landing bay doors opened with a hiss. Arya, Leona, and Hale stepped into the silence of Epsilon 9. The air smelled of smoke and metal. Emergency lights blinked weakly. As they moved deeper into the corridor, their flashlights caught marks on the walls, long, burned scratches. "The same kind they saw in Corvus." "Captain," Hale said nervously, "this looks like the same thing that killed those aliens." "Stay sharp," Arya replied. They reached the control room. The door was half melted, but they forced it open. Inside, consoles were smashed. Bodies floated in the zero-gravity chamber. Only one person was alive. Barely. He was slumped against the wall, wrapped in a torn silver suit, his skin grey-blue, his eyes bright gold. "Captain," Leona whispered. "He's not human." Arya approached carefully, hand on her pistol. "Identify yourself." The alien raised his head weakly. His voice was soft, full of static from his translator. "Please don't shoot. I sent the signal." Hale's eyes widened. "You? You're the SOS?" The alien nodded slowly. "My name is Corrin. My people were the Threxians. The Devourers destroyed us." That name hit hard. "Devourers!" Arya repeated. Corrin looked up with shaking hands. "They come from the dark between stars. Machines that eat everything, metal, life, planets. We thought we could fight them. We were wrong. Leona crouched beside him. Why send the message in English? How did you even know our language? Corin's voice cracked. Because long ago humans fought them first. The room fell silent. Arya frowned. That's impossible. Humanity's archives have no record of any devourers. Corin gave a sad, broken smile. Then your leaders erased the truth. Suddenly the lights flickered. The station trembled. Captain, Hale said, panic in his voice. Sensors picking up movement outside. Multiple energy signatures. Arya grabbed Corin's arm. We're leaving, now! They half-carried him through the burning corridors, back toward the shuttle. Behind them, something slammed into the metal walls, hard. Sparks rained down. Move! Arya shouted. They burst into the hangar just as the bulkhead door bent inward with a screech. The shapes coming through were red, spined and mechanical, the same kind that had infested the alien wrecks. Hale fired his pulse rifle. Go, go, go! The crew climbed into the shuttle and launched, the engines roaring to life. The red creatures swarmed across the hangar, chasing them, leaping through the air like shadows made of steel and fire. The shuttle shot out into open space. Behind them, Epsilon 9 exploded, torn apart by the swarm. Back aboard the Starlance, Coran lay on the medbed, breathing heavily. Leona was scanning him, trying to keep him alive. Captain, she said quietly, he's badly wounded, but he's telling the truth. His DNA isn't like anything in our databases. He's not lying. Arya stood over him. Corin, you said humans fought these things before. When? Corin turned his golden eyes toward her. Before your history began. Before your wars. The Devourers came once, and humanity built something to stop them. You called it the Aurora Fleet, Arya's breath caught. That's just a legend. Ghost ships from old war stories. Corin shook his head slowly. They are real, and you must find them. Only the Aurora Fleet can destroy the Devourers again, the ship AI interrupted. Captain, I'm detecting movement in nearby space. Unknown contacts approaching fast. Arya turned toward the viewport. Outside, the darkness rippled, and the same red lights began to appear in the distance, spreading like infection through the stars. Corin sat up weakly, his voice trembling. They found us. Who? Hale asked, even though he already knew the answer. Corin's eyes glowed faintly. The Devourers. The lights outside multiplied, dozens then hundreds. A massive shadow moved behind them, swallowing the stars. Arya clenched her fists. Get us out of here! The Starlance jumped into hyperspace again, vanishing into the void, while behind them, the Devourers consumed what was left of Epsilon 9. The Starlance drifted in silence, hidden between shattered asteroids. Outside, the stars looked calm again. But Captain Arya Trent knew it was only an illusion. Behind them, the Devourers had destroyed Epsilon 9 completely. No survivors, no signal. Just darkness. Inside the ship, the alien Coran lay weak on the medbed, his body trembling. He looked more human than alien now, pale, fragile, and exhausted. But his golden eyes still burned with purpose. Captain, he said softly, you must listen to me. The Aurora Fleet still exists. Arya crossed her arms. You said that before. Those ships are myths. No one's seen them for centuries. Corin shook his head. Your leaders buried the truth. The Aurora Fleet was humanity's first defense against the Devourers. They defeated them once. Arya looked out the viewport. Her crew was tired, frightened, but loyal. They had seen the impossible. Alien ghosts, living machines, and a destroyed station. Now they faced a decision that could change the galaxy. She turned back. Set a course for the dying star. Hale hesitated. Captain, if this is a trap, then we'll face it, Arya said calmly. If there's even a chance this vanguard is real, we need it. Hours later, the Starlance exited hyperspace near the Erebus star, a collapsing red dwarf. It pulsed weakly, surrounded by rings of shattered rock and glowing dust. No planets, no stations, no signals. Nothing here, Hale said, scanning. Wait, Leona interrupted. I'm picking up something under the star's radiation belt. Metallic, huge. Arya's pulse quickened. On screen, the display filled with light, and slowly, a massive shadow appeared beneath the gas clouds. It was enormous, longer than a city, silent, half buried in a glowing debris field. Engraved across its black hull were two words, worn by time. HSS Vanguard. The bridge went silent. Hale whispered, "It's real." Corran's weak smile returned. "Humanity's deadliest fleet waiting for your command." Then sealed themselves away. Arya frowned. Sealed where? Corran reached into his torn uniform and pulled out a small black crystal. "This holds part of the key. The rest is locked inside human military archives. But together they can awaken your deadliest weapon, the Vanguard." Hale leaned forward. "Vanguard? As in the flagship of the Aurora fleet?" "Yes," Corran whispered. "It sleeps beneath a dying star, waiting for the Devourers to return." The Starlets approached the ancient warship. Its hull was covered in battle scars, like it had fought entire wars alone. No power readings, no lights. It looked truly dead. "Docking clamps ready," Leona said. They latched onto one of the old hangar bays and entered. Inside, everything was dark and still. Dust floated like ghosts. "Keep your helmets sealed," Arya ordered. "No air, no light. Move carefully." Their flashlights cut through the darkness, revealing massive corridors of steel and faded human insignias. This was no alien ship. It was human, but older than any design in current records. As they moved deeper, they reached the main bridge. The control chairs were empty, screens cracked, but at the center stood a round metallic platform with an inactive AI core. Corran approached it, holding his black crystal. "This will wake it." "Do it," Arya said. He placed the crystal into the slot. For a moment nothing happened. Then a low hum filled the room. Lights flickered on across the walls. Panels began to glow blue, and a deep ancient voice echoed through the air. "Threat signature confirmed. Biological mechanical entities detected. Awakening Fleet Protocol Sigma." Arya froze. "It's alive," the voice continued. "Identify commanding officer." Arya stepped forward. "Captain Arya Trent, Terran Fleet Command." The voice paused, then replied, "Identity match 72%. Lineage confirmed. Welcome, descendant of Commander Trent. The Vanguard awaits your command." Leona's mouth fell open. "Descendant?" Arya blinked. "My ancestor. Commanded the Aurora fleet?" The AI responded, "Confirmed. Commander Elias Trent, last survivor of the first Devourer War." The bridge glowed brighter. Screens came alive, showing holograms of old battles, humans fighting swarms of red consuming machines. The same creatures that now returned. Arya whispered, "So it's all true." The AI spoke again. "Fleet status inactive. Secondary units in hibernation across 6 star systems. Awaiting reactivation code." Corran looked at Arya. "Those are the rest of the Aurora fleet ships. You must wake them all," Hale frowned. "That could take months, maybe years." "Then we start now," Arya said. "AI, how do we restore power?" "Core reactor offline. Manual restart required from the reactor chamber." "Then let's move," Arya ordered. They descended into the lower decks through huge empty corridors. Every step echoed through the forgotten halls. Old human flags still hung on the walls, faded and torn. Names of soldiers long dead were etched into the steel. They reached the reactor chamber, a colossal room filled with dark, silent machinery. At its center stood the fusion core, half the size of their shuttle. Corran handed Arya a data rod. "Insert this into the control nexus. It will merge my technology with yours. Restart the heart of this ship." Arya hesitated only a second, then slammed the rod into the slot. A blinding light filled the chamber. The floor shook. Engines deep within the ship roared to life for the first time in 200 years. On the bridge above, screens flickered on one by one. The Vanguard systems came online. Back on the main bridge, Arya's crew watched as the ship's AI spoke again. "Power restored. Vanguard active. Fleet protocol resumed. Warning, Devourer presence detected in nearby sector." Hale looked at Arya, eyes wide. "They found us again." The AI's tone deepened. "Captain, shall we engage?" Arya stared at the glowing map, showing red contacts approaching from the edge of the system. Dozens of them. She took a slow breath. "Vanguard, this is Captain Arya Trent. Prepare all weapons." Let's remind the galaxy who humans are. Outside, the silent warship turned its massive guns toward the stars. Energy surged through its ancient cannons, lighting up space like dawn. The Vanguard, humanity's deadliest warship, roared back to life, and far away in the dark, the Devourers began to move toward it. The black star burned weakly in the distance, its dying light spreading across the cold, dark space. And the ancient human warship Vanguard floated awake after 200 years. Its engines glowing with white fire, its armor cracked but alive again. Captain Arya Trent stood on the bridge, her eyes fixed on the holographic map, glowing blue across the air. Red marks blinked on the outer edge of the system, dozens of moving signals, each growing stronger with every second. The AI voice echoed through the chamber, deep and calm like thunder before a storm. Devourer signatures confirmed. Distance 10 million kilometers and closing. The crew stared at the screens, silent and afraid. The sound of humming power filled the bridge like a heartbeat. Ancient engines coming alive one by one. Vanguard's weapons at 50%, said Lieutenant Hale, his hands shaking over the console. But shields are still cold. We don't have full power yet. Then we use what we have, Arya said, her voice steady and sharp. Corran, how fast can they reach us? The alien scientist looked pale and weak, but his golden eyes glowed with fear. Minutes, maybe less. They move faster than light can measure. They consume everything they touch. Arya took a breath and turned to the crew. The ship was built to fight them once. We'll do it again for Earth. For every system that still believes we exist. The AI's lights brightened. Weapon cores ready, main railguns charged. Nuclear payloads online. Arya nodded once. Target the leading swarm. Outside, the massive cannons of the Vanguard turned in silence, energy building around their barrels like lightning trapped in steel. The ship shook slightly as power flowed through its old systems. A deep, low hum spread across the hull like a growl. Through the viewport, the crew saw the first wave. Black shapes gliding through space like a storm of living knives. Thousands of red eyes shining in the darkness. No formation, no pattern, only hunger, fire, Arya ordered. The warship unleashed a blinding streak of light that tore through the void. The railgun shells burned white, smashing into the swarm. Hundreds of creatures shattered into dust. A silent explosion of energy that made the stars tremble. The crew cheered for a second, but Corran didn't. He stared at the screens, his voice shaking. They're adapting. Look at their armor. It's changing already. On the sensors, the red marks grew brighter again. The creatures that survived began to twist and shift, their black shells turning silver. Reflecting the next railgun blast like a mirror, they learned from every strike. Becoming stronger each moment, the AI spoke again. Warning, enemy adapting to kinetic and nuclear weaponry. New strategy required. Try plasma, Arya said. Full spread. The Vanguard's underbelly opened, revealing ancient plasma turrets glowing blue. A storm of energy burst out, flooding space with burning light. Entire sections of the swarm melted away in seconds, but still they came, endless, hungry. Unstoppable, they don't retreat, Hale whispered. They just keep coming. Corran leaned against the console, breathing heavily. That is their nature. They eat and evolve. They will not stop until nothing lives. Arya's eyes narrowed. Then we give them something they can't eat. She turned to the AI. Open the old data vault. I want access to every classified weapon from the Aurora Fleet archives. The AI paused, its voice colder. Warning. Certain weapons are forbidden by Terran command protocols. Command is gone, Arya snapped. We're all that's left. Unlock them. The ship trembled as deeper systems woke up, hidden under layers of security for centuries. Blue light filled the bridge as ancient weapon blueprints appeared. Names that no one had seen for generations. One caught Arya's eye, Solar Lance. A massive energy weapon designed to pierce stars themselves. She pointed at it. Activate that one. Power required exceeds current reactor output, the AI said. Reactor must reach full fusion capacity. That will take time. Then hold them off until it's ready, Arya said. The battle raged across the system. The Devourers swarmed like a red storm, smashing into the Vanguard's shields, covering the ship like insects on metal, their claws tearing at the armor, trying to break through inside the ship. Alarms blared, sparks fell from the ceiling. The lights flickered, hail shouted over the noise. Shields down to 30%, Arya gritted her teeth. Redirect all power from secondary decks. Keep the main core alive, Corran stumbled forward. His voice desperate. You must wake the rest of the fleet. There are 6 more ships like this one, each hidden in a different system. Together, they can stop the swarm. How do we find them? Arya demanded. He pointed to his chest. The coordinates, they are inside me, encoded in my DNA. Your ship can extract them. Arya looked at Leona. Do it. Now Leona nodded and began scanning Corran's DNA with the ship's medical interface. Symbols and numbers appeared on the screen, glowing bright blue. Ancient fleet coordinates there, Leona said. I've got one location. A signal buried under an ice moon in the Virion system. Arya turned to the AI. Send the data to navigation. As soon as the solar lance is ready, we jump there. Outside, the swarm roared silently through the void. Hundreds of creatures smashed against the Vanguard, red energy bleeding across its hull. The AI's voice grew louder. Solar lance at 90% power. The ship shuddered violently, its armor cracking under the pressure, flames spilling from the lower decks. Arya gripped the command rail, her voice calm even as the deck shook, aimed directly at the swarm's core. Fire on my mark! The crew held their breath, the world outside glowing red with the light of destruction. Power at 100%. Arya raised her hand. Now a beam of pure white fire burst from the front of the Vanguard, slicing through the swarm like a blade of light. It burned across space, tearing the creatures apart, vaporizing thousands in seconds. The dark sky exploded in color. When the light faded, silence returned. Only drifting ashes and twisted remains floated before them. The AI spoke quietly. Enemy presence reduced by 90%. Remaining entities retreating. Hale laughed weakly. We did it, Captain. We actually... But then Corran whispered something that made them all freeze. No, that was only the first swarm. The true Devourer hive hasn't arrived yet. Arya stared at him. The stars reflected in her eyes. Then we need every ship we can find. She turned to the AI. Plot a course to the Virion system. It's time to wake the rest of the fleet. Outside, the old warship roared through the void again, leaving behind the burning remains of the battle, heading into the dark with purpose and fury. Humanity's deadliest weapon reborn and ready for war. The stars moved like cold fire as the Vanguard drifted through the void, its engines glowing faint blue, scars across its hull burning from the last battle. Silence filled the corridors. Only the hum of the ship's heart remained, deep and steady like a pulse in the dark. Captain Arya. Trent stood on the bridge, watching the frozen system ahead. An ice moon shining pale under a dying sun. This was the place Corran's DNA had revealed, the first resting ground of the lost Aurora fleet. Ships built to defend humanity and then forgotten by time. The AI spoke softly, its tone lower than usual. Sensors detect a massive energy source under the ice. Coordinates locked. Structure size equivalent to a dreadnought-class vessel. Arya nodded slowly, her hands tightening on the command rail. That's our sleeping giant. Prepare descent thrusters. We're going down. The ship turned toward the moon. The engines flared. Ice and dust exploded under its shadow as the Vanguard descended through the thin, frozen atmosphere, glowing blue through the blizzard, a symbol of human fire cutting through cold eternity. Lieutenant Hale looked at the readings. No movement down there, but energy signatures are old. Maybe centuries old. Whatever's sleeping under that ice is still alive. The ship landed with a deep echo, the ground cracking beneath its weight. Steam rose in clouds around the landing site. The crew moved fast. Armored drones dropped from the cargo bay, drilling through layers of frost and rock, each meter revealing more of the buried shape below. Corran stepped beside Arya. his golden eyes glowing faintly. These ships were built during the last stand of humanity. Each one carries a fragment of our Creator's will. If we wake them, we wake their memories too. Arya looked down into the growing pit. Blue light shimmered under the ice. Outlines of a massive hull began to appear, smooth metal shaped like wings. The name barely visible under frozen layers. Eclipse. A chill ran through the crew. Even through their armor, it was real. Another warship waiting beneath their feet. The AI's voice rose again. Thermal core detected minimal activity, no life signs. Systems dormant, Arya spoke sharply. Initiate power transfer. Connect Vanguard's reactor output to the Eclipse core. Wake her up. Energy cables uncoiled like serpents from the Vanguard. Locking onto the ancient ship below, blue electricity surged through the ice. Cracks spread across the surface like veins of light. The ground shook. Snow and frost exploded upward. And then the impossible happened. The ice began to melt from within. A low hum vibrated through the air, then a deep sound came, like a roar. The Eclipse was waking up. Lights flashed under the surface. Long dark cannons lifted from the ice. Metal wings unfolded like a creature, stretching after 1,000 years of sleep. The ship's engines flared gold, cutting through the fog. The AI whispered, "Power signature increasing rapidly. She's alive." Arya watched the scene with awe. "Open a comlink. I want to speak to her core, AI." A moment passed. Then the comm flickered. A female voice echoed through the bridge. Distant and ancient, "Identify yourself, intruder. This system belongs to the Aurora Command. This is Captain Arya Trent of the Terran warship Vanguard," she replied firmly. "We're the last of humanity, and we need you to wake. The Devourers have returned." Silence filled the air. Then the voice changed. Colder now, but with something like memory. "Devourers detected, threat level Omega, authorization accepted, awakening full fleet protocols." The Eclipse's hull burned with new light. Symbols along its body came alive, data streams linked between both ships. The ice crater glowed with energy. Hale looked at the radar, and his face went pale. "Captain, I'm reading something far out on the edge of the system. Multiple signals approaching fast." Corrin turned sharply. "It's them, the next wave. They've found us." Arya didn't hesitate. "Eclipse, can you fly?" "Engines stabilizing." "Weapons ready," the AI of Eclipse answered. "But shields are still cold," Arya shouted. "Then we hold together, side by side." Like the old fleets once did, above the ice moon. The stars rippled as the swarm arrived. Red energy clouds twisting through the void. The Devourers poured into the system like a living storm. Thousands of shapes moving with silent rage, their black forms glowing from inside. Hunger burning through them, the Vanguard and Eclipse rose from the surface. Their engines roaring together, the sight filled the dark sky with fire. 2 human warships, awake again after centuries, ready to fight as one. The first wave hit them hard. Energy blasts streaking across space. Shields flashed, alarms blared. But the ships moved like dancers, weaving through the chaos. Their railguns and plasma beams cutting holes through the swarm. The AI shouted over the noise, linking targeting systems between Vanguard and Eclipse for synchronized fire. "Do it," Arya said. The 2 ships connected. Data streams fused, every weapon locked onto the same targets. Every cannon fired in rhythm. Space burned bright as their combined power tore through the Devourers. Each explosion lighting up the frozen world below, but the swarm didn't stop. It grew thicker, darker, surrounding them from all sides. Their claws slashing at the shields, energy tearing through the hulls. Fragments of armor breaking away into the void inside the bridge. Sparks rained down. Corran leaned forward, shouting through the chaos. "We can't fight them like this forever. We must wake the rest." "The fleet will respond to the signal from the Eclipse core," Arya shouted back. "And send it now." The AI pulsed with light. A deep signal blast echoed across the stars. Invisible to the eye, but powerful enough to travel galaxies. A sound that hadn't been heard for 2 centuries. The call of the Aurora fleet far away, across forgotten systems, hidden under oceans and mountains. Ancient human warships began to stir, their hearts glowing once more. The Devourers screamed through the darkness, more of them arriving every second, but Arya didn't retreat. She stood tall as the bridge shook, her voice cutting through the noise like fire through smoke. "We're not running. This is our space. This is humanity's home. And we fight for it till the end." The crew roared in answer, their hands steady on the controls. Their fear turning into fury, the Eclipse's main cannon charged. The Vanguard's solar lance prepared again, both ships glowing white and gold, their energy combined. Their aim locked. "Fire!" Arya said. The twin beams unleashed together, merging into one massive wave of light that ripped across the system. Burning through the swarm like the wrath of the stars, millions of Devourers turned to dust, their red light fading to black when the energy cleared. Only silence remained, the space before them empty again, filled only with drifting fragments of ash and broken alien metal. Area looked out through the viewport, her voice quiet but full of strength. 2 ships awake, 5 more to find, and a war still to win. Corran nodded slowly. "And the hive is coming, Captain. The true swarm is already moving." The AI's tone dropped low. "Long-range sensors confirm unknown movement beyond the dark edge. Size unmeasurable power signatures beyond prediction." Arya turned toward the stars, her eyes steady. "Then we'll be ready when they arrive. Humanity will be waiting." The Vanguard and the Eclipse drifted together into the black, engines burning bright like twin suns in the night, carrying the hope and fury of an entire species. The void was silent again, but everyone on the Vanguard knew silence never lasted long. The ship floated beside the newly awakened Eclipse, their engines dim under the dying sun of a frozen system. And in that quiet the crew felt something cold moving at the edge of existence. A presence older than war itself. Captain Arya Trent stood on the bridge, her reflection glowing in the viewport light. She watched the distant stars shift like tiny flames in the dark, and she whispered under her breath, "They're coming." The AI's voice broke the silence. Calm and deep, fleet awakening signal confirmed. Response detected from 3 additional Aurora warships. Arya turned sharply. Location: 1 near the gas world of Nereth, another under the surface of Titan's ruins, the 3rd in orbit of a dead binary star. Distance: 5 days at maximum drive. Lieutenant Hale looked at her, his voice heavy with exhaustion. "That's far, Captain. We're running on half our power cells. If they hit us before we reach them, we won't survive." Arya finished, her voice steady. "But we'll reach them first. Even if it burns the engines dry." Corran moved closer, his gold eyes faint in the dim light. "The hive will awaken now that you have sent the signal. They always respond to the call. They will come not as a swarm, but as a storm that devours suns." Arya didn't blink. "Then we move faster, plot a course to Nereth, full drive. Wake the Eclipse's crew. We'll need every ship ready before the hive arrives." The engines roared alive, blue fire trailing behind them as the 2 ancient warships jumped into the void, their paths cutting across black space like falling stars days past in tension. Each hour heavier than the last, the crew worked in silence, repairing the Vanguard's armor, recalibrating weapons, their hands trembling but never stopping. The AI watched everything, recording every spark of fear and courage like data etched into history. At last the stars ahead grew bright. The gas world of Nereth filled the screen, clouds of red and gold swirling endlessly, storms bigger than continents raging in its atmosphere. And there, floating just above it, was the sleeping warship Helios. The Helios was massive, twice the size of Vanguard, its hull black and gold. Wings folded like an angel turned to stone. Light flickered faintly across its armor. As if it was dreaming, the Eclipse sent a pulse of energy toward it, and within moments, the Helios began to glow. Deep lights moving through its body, old systems waking, ancient power rising from the dead. The voice that came through the comm was rough, mechanical yet filled with something human. "Who dares wake the dead?" Arya answered firmly. "Captain Arya Trent, Terran warship Vanguard." The Devourers have returned. Humanity needs you." There was silence for a moment. Then the voice changed, warmer, full of recognition. "Humanity still breathes, then the fleet will rise again." The Helios opened its wings. Light pouring from its engines like dawn through storm clouds. The ship roared, shaking space around it. The Aurora fleet was beginning to live again. But as the light of Helios spread, the shadows in the far stars began to move. The AI spoke again, its tone urgent. "Contact detected. Multiple energy signatures beyond system boundary. Count exceeding 10,000. Movement pattern matches Devourer Hive scouts." Karan's face went pale. "They're scouting ahead of the hive. The main body won't be far behind." Arya clenched her fists. "Then we wake the rest before they reach us. Send the signal to Titan and the binary system. Full power broadcast. Override any safety locks. The 3 warships, Vanguard, Eclipse and Helios, turn their engines toward the dark." The signal fired again, pulsing like a heartbeat across space, calling out to the last sleeping giants of humanity. But the hive had heard it too, far beyond the edge of known space, in the black heart of a dying nebula. Something stirred, a shape too large to imagine. A living mass of biometal the size of a planet, its eyes burning red like newborn suns. The true Devourer hive had awakened, tendrils of energy spread out like roots through the void. Billions of creatures crawling from its surface. The hive spoke in a voice that echoed through every frequency. "We smell the fire again. The old flesh dares to rise. We will feed upon their light." It moved, slow but unstoppable, dragging whole asteroids into its orbit, turning them into armor. Its hunger spreading through space like a disease. On the Vanguard, alarms flashed red. The AI spoke louder. "Hive energy detected. Gravitational distortion, expanding across multiple systems. Time to contact. 4 days." The crew fell silent, every eye turning to Arya, waiting for her command. She looked out through the glass, her voice calm and cold. "Then we make those 4 days count." She turned to Corran. "If the hive is this big, what are its weak points?" Corran hesitated. "The core heart at its center, but to reach it, you must pass through layers of living shields, each one learning from your attack. Every strike makes it stronger. Then we hit it harder each time," Arya said. "Because we're humans, and that's what we do." The crew smiled weakly, their fear replaced by a kind of madness that only warriors know before the end. The fleet moved again, 3 warships flying together through black space, their engines burning brighter than stars, their signals echoing like thunder through the dark, calling to the last 2 ships still sleeping on Titan's broken moon under oceans of methane and ice. A light began to glow, a warship rising from the deep, its name written in gold, Nemesis, and far beyond the binary stars, in the ruins of a forgotten battle. Another giant stirred, armor covered in dust and scars, its AI voice whispering as it woke. "Aurora fleet signal confirmed, preparing for war." The final pieces of humanity's deadliest fleet were awakening, one by one, drawn by Arya's call. United by the same ancient code, protect the species. But as the fleet prepared, the hive began to move faster. Its outer swarms devouring planets, feeding its heart, growing stronger with every world it consumed. The AI's final words before the scene faded were calm, but heavy with meaning. "Captain, the hive will reach us soon. We are out of time." Arya looked at the stars, her eyes burning with light. "Then we meet them halfway." The screen dimmed as the Vanguard's engines flared white, leading the fleet into the storm. The rebirth of humanity's wrath, speeding toward the heart of darkness. The void burned with motion as humanity's last fleet came together. The Aurora fleet awakened from forgotten ages, their engines glowing across the darkness like stars reborn. The ancient warships Vanguard, Eclipse, Helios, Nemesis, and 2 more giants now rising from the shadows to join them. Their names whispered through static, Titan's Wrath and Oathbreaker, each one armed with weapons lost to time, each one carrying the ghosts of old wars. Captain Arya Trent stood on the bridge of the Vanguard, her hands gripping the command rail. her eyes fixed on the screen where the stars ahead twisted and bled red light. The hive was coming, a moving world of death that swallowed whole systems. Its energy field spreading like smoke through the void. Every signal around it vanished. Every light went dark as it advanced. The AI's voice was quiet, almost reverent. Hive confirmed. Gravitational distortion spreading. Size exceeds planetary scale. Surface life forms uncountable. Estimate population beyond comprehension. Lieutenant Hales swallowed hard, his voice trembling. How do we fight something that big, Captain? How do we even hurt it? Arya's tone was steel. We don't fear the size, we burn through it piece by piece, until nothing is left but ash. The fleet's formation tightened. 6 warships spreading across the black-like wings of light. Their engines burning brighter, their cannons aligned, their shields merged into a single field of energy that shimmered blue like an ocean under sunlight. They were humanity's last hope, the last fire that refused to die. Corran stood near the holographic map, his golden eyes glowing. The hive's heart lies within the central mass, a living core wrapped in millions of creatures. Every layer must be destroyed to reach it. But once you hit the heart, it will all fall apart. Arya nodded once. Then that's our target. Prepare all solar lances. Charge fusion drives to maximum output. We strike the heart directly. The AI pulse blew. Warning! Solar lance discharge at full capacity will overload Vanguard's core. Detonation probability 89%. Arya smiled faintly. Then make sure it counts. Space rippled as the hive appeared in full view. An ocean of red and black, endless movement. Countless creatures crawling across a living surface that pulsed like flesh. It was not a fleet. It was a planet made of hunger. A god of extinction moving through the stars. The hive spoke across all frequencies. A deep voice that vibrated through every hull. Flesh of the old fire, your time is gone. Your light will feed us once more. Arya stood tall, her voice cutting through the ship's intercom like thunder. All ships, battle stations, no retreat, no surrender. Humanity stands here. The first wave hit them like a storm, red energy beams striking the shields, explosions lighting up the black. The fleet responded at once. Plasma cannons fired, rail guns roared, missiles burned through the void. The darkness turned to fire. The Eclipse and Helios moved forward together, their wings open, twin plasma streams slicing through the swarm. Burning millions in seconds, the Nemesis unleashed nuclear warheads that detonated in silence. Waves of destruction pushing the creatures back. The Vanguard fired its solar lance, a beam of white fire cutting straight into the hive's outer shell. The explosion brighter than a sun, the shockwave rolling through the void like a tidal wave. For a moment the hive recoiled, wounded but not destroyed. Corran gripped the console, shouting over the shaking floor, "It's working, but it's adapting again. The next layer is changing shape." Arya's voice remained calm. "Then we hit harder. Synchronize fire across all ships. Combine every beam on a single point." The AI linked the fleet together, data streams merging, 6 warships firing as one. Their combined energy forming a single column of burning light that ripped through the hive's outer layer. Tearing it open like flesh under a blade, a silent scream echoed through the comms. The hive was bleeding, but then the red light flared brighter. New shapes burst out of the wound, massive devourer titans the size of cities. Their wings spread wide, their eyes glowing like suns, each one releasing storms of plasma from their mouths. One hit the Eclipse. Tearing through its flank, fire erupted across its hull. Alarms blaring, the ship shaking apart. Captain Wren of the Eclipse shouted through comms, "We can't hold them off, our shields are gone." Arya's voice came cold. "You're not dying for nothing, Wren. Draw them closer. We'll give you cover." The Helios swung in, shielding the Eclipse with its body, taking the hits head-on, armor melting away. Engines screaming, but it held. Its main cannons fired point-blank, disintegrating the Titan in a wave of golden fire. The Eclipse's AI spoke weakly, energy core unstable. Containment failing. Arya's eyes widened. "Wren, eject." Now Wren's last words came through static. "For humanity." The Eclipse exploded. A burst of blue light so bright it blinded every screen. The blast cut a hole straight through the hive's outer mass. Millions of devourers burned in the fire, and for a moment the hive itself trembled. Arya whispered, "She did it!" The AI spoke quickly. "Hive heart partially exposed. Target lock available." "Then this is it," Arya said. "All ships, focus fire on the heart, everything we have." The Aurora fleet moved as one. Railguns, plasma, nukes, solar lances, every weapon unleashed at once. 6 beams of energy colliding into the hive's center. The stars themselves seemed to vanish under the light. The hive screamed across the void, a sound that felt alive, furious, dying. Corran fell to his knees, clutching his chest. "It's breaking, but the energy backlash will reach us all. It will destroy everything in this system." Arya looked around her bridge, her crew battered and burned but still standing. "Then we finish what we started." She turned to the AI. "Redirect Vanguard's power core. Overload sequence." "Manual trigger." The AI hesitated. "That action will destroy this vessel, Captain." Arya smiled faintly. "I know." The AI went silent, then softly said, "It has been an honor serving humanity." Arya placed her hand on the console. "It's been an honor saving it." She looked at Hale and the others. "Get to escape pods, that's an order." But no one moved. Hale's voice broke through the noise. "We're staying, Captain, to the end." The crew stood firm, the Vanguard trembling as its heart began to burn white, energy rising like a second sun, brighter and brighter until the ship became light itself outside. The hive's heart beat once, then stopped. A white explosion tore through the void. The light spread faster than sound, faster than thought, and in that endless brilliance the hive was gone, erased from the stars. The last thing seen was the Vanguard, shining like a star before it vanished into the light. When the fire faded, silence returned. The surviving ships drifted through the ashes of the hive, their hulls broken, their crews in tears but alive. The Nemesis's AI whispered through the comm. "Hive core destroyed, signal ceased, humanity survives," and somewhere deep in the void, a single spark of light moved across the darkness. A small escape pod drifting away from the ruins, carrying one faint signal. Arya Trent, her voice weak but steady, whispered into the comm. "The war is over, but humanity's story has just begun."